Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your Board Game Doctor today. This video is going to be a quick review on El Paso, or Great Western Trail El Paso, the newest game by Pfister, Alexander Pfister, that is a more streamlined version of Great Western Trail. I have played Great Western Trail a few times, but not enough to really understand the nuances that game provides, as it is one of the most beloved games in the hobby. So, hence, this is why this is going to be more of a quicker review and a review of someone who does respect the original game, also knowing that I have not played the game with the expansion, Railways to the North, I believe it's called, and the other newer versions, Argentina, New Zealand, etc. I've just played the base game and this. And this is now available as of today with this recording in beta on Board Game Arena, so anyone can play it. So in this game, it mirrors a lot of what you do mechanically in Great Western Trail, where you travel around this smaller board, visiting these buildings, taking advantage of the actions, gaining resources, and using cards from your hand, such as the cowboy, the engineer, you've got the worker as well, the builder, pardon. And you also have your cattle cards as well that you're kind of doing some deck building with to go around and gather more points in different ways, such as by building more buildings, acquiring better cows for your deck, and fulfilling objectives, essentially, that are found here. Some major differences, and some people might be able to find some minor ones, or more nuanced ones, but some major differences include, one, the streamlined and cut down version of the board. You are missing a lot of those alternate paths and outlaws that are seen in the bigger game. You essentially have less places that you can place your buildings and not a lot of roadblocks as you saw in the past game. Another big difference is the railway track, I forget exactly what it's called. It's replaced in this game by a deck of train cards that you can use with your engineer. And you essentially can grab these train cards that are shuffled and variable as a market to utilize its effect. And so the way that you acquire some of these building cards too is different. It is essentially, you pay money to grab these cards. There's no job market, which randomizes the offering of different workers or types of workers that you have in the game. In this game, it's more, I guess, driven by the buildings that you see and objectives that you have as well. You also have these bonus tiles that you can grab, mostly from the builder track here, or the cards that you get from the engineer. So, and you go around until all of the Simmental cards are out of play and have been acquired, and then the game ends, rather than in the original game when the job market gets to a certain point. And this also has a solo mode, which I have not played. I have played multiplayer, such as this game, so take that as it were. As a quick comment on the peer review, I've seen mixed reviews for this game. That, a lot of people have said who enjoy the depth and nuance of Great Western Trail, having a sort of lackluster experience with this game. A lot of that nuance has been cut out, and the decision space isn't as large, whereas other people enjoy this experience because of the opportunity that you get to play the mechanisms of Great Western Trail at a more streamlined and quicker pace. And so if you do have less time or are playing with someone who is not familiar or ready for the full Great Western Trail experience, you do have this game to introduce some of those ideas. The interesting thing to note is how Board Game Arena has these games listed in terms of these categories, such as complexity, strategy, luck, and interaction. Now, it's a straight 3 out of 5 for Great Western Trail versus El Paso, which right now is listed at a 3, 5, and a 2 for complexity, strategy, luck, respectively. and no interaction whatsoever. I don't know if that is completely true, and so I take this with a grain of salt. But I think a lot of the luck is reduced in El Paso because of the lack of the job market. The randomization does come in the train cards as well as the buildings and objectives and bonuses that are offered and different from game to game. The complexity is listed as about the same. I would say this is definitely a less complex game, so I don't know why this is at a 3 minimum. And the strategy is off the charts here, which I think is not accurate. I think Great Western Trail is a more strategic game. It probably has a little bit more luck involved as well, but that once again, that's coming from someone who is relatively naive to the Great Western Trail experience. If I were to compare this game to some other iterations, it's interesting to have a game like Pirates of Maracaibo being a second, more streamlined experience compared to Maracaibo, the base game. I do feel like those two games are different enough that I don't know. I guess Pirates of Maracaibo is a quicker, more streamlined experience, but I don't feel like that's the right comparison to make for Great Western Trail and El Paso. I think another thought is the differences between Terra Mystica and Terra Nova. I think that is a closer example to what this feels like. I've played both Terra Mystica and Terra Nova, which are both on Board Game Arena as well. And Terra Nova, I think, does take the complexity way down, farther than the difference is compared to Great Western Trail and El Paso. But it very much is similar in its approach, where it's essentially the same game, but with a lot of fat cut out to make it, once again, more streamlined. In the Rosenberg universe, I think another interesting comparison would be to Black Road or Glass Road and Black Forest, which is the opposite of what happened in chronologic release, with Glass Road coming out first, and then Black Forest being the more complex and grandiose game coming afterwards. But it's essentially a very similar experience when you compare those two games to this comparison, where many of the mechanisms are shared, but there are tweaks in some of the mechanisms to make the game shorter, essentially. And I feel like that is another similarity. So for my final review, without going into each of these areas one by one, I give this game a 7.3 out of 10. I think this is a fun game. Like its bigger brother, Great Western Trail, is a game that I don't find as fun, maybe partly because of the theme, but also, the mechanisms as well. I kind of mentioned that before, but I think I would prefer to come back to El Paso more, just because it's a game that I can more feasibly bring to the table and or play online with other people. I do think that this game has legs because of the variability that comes with the buildings and objectives. For some, of course, it's not going to be as deep of an experience that they're looking for, and may not replace the experience that you get with Great Western Trail, but I think this game, as others have said, will be a good option to either introduce to other folks the mechanisms that are used in Great Western Trail, or just to play as a standalone game and have a good time. I think it's easy to learn, relatively easy to learn, and retain the rules. It has enough variability and I think replayability based off of that variability and timing to make this game a good one. It's just not exactly what I'm looking for in board games if I am being specific about what I like and don't like. So still, I think this is a good rating, a 7.3 out of 10 for me for El Paso. Thank you for listening, or watching this video rather, and comment down below what you think about El Paso. Give it a shot on Board Game Arena. And thank you for consulting with me, and hope you join me on a future video. Take care.